Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome or welcome back again to another video from the Apex Academy of Mathematics, where learning the language of the universe begins here. My name is Akin and I'll be your tutor for today. Alright, and as you can see here right on the screen, we're going to be going through a past paper question which is coming from the year 2017 May-June exam. Alright, make sure that you guys have your instruments out, your calculators, your pens, your pencils, your analytical skills and that kind of stuff, because I'm gonna want you to work with me as I go along. I know, of course, you're watching this video, but feel free to pause the video at any time during the video, and then of course you can make an attempt to work out the questions, and then you can unpause the video and take a look at my solution. I will try to make sure that in all cases where necessary or where possible, I will show you different variations or different ways of approaching the question. Alright, all topics are highlighted. Alright, and I will ensure that I tell you to what area you're coming from. So many lessons to learn here. This is going to be, of course, a very lengthy video. Not sure if I'm going to have it in 2 parts or 1 part, but you are obviously watching it right now, so you will know if it is 1 or 2 parts. Make sure that you have time on your hands when you are watching this video, because this is only but to benefit you in the long run. Alright, so let's jump into the paper without further ado. So we already know the instructions for CXC exams, as you can see it right there. Consists of 2 sections, total of 10 questions in total. The paper that we are now doing in the year 2021, it's no longer set up like this, because now there are 2 sections, but all questions on the papers are compulsory. But this one here in part 2 is in point number 2 here. You see in sections 1 8 questions and section 2 has 3 questions. So there was a time that you had to do 11 questions, I'm thinking, but now it's just 10 compulsory questions. If I correct, please feel free to correct me down in the comment section below. All right, and we know all the other basic rules and such. Okay, so let's go over here. We have a formula sheet that can be quite useful sometimes. All right guys, so I'll make reference, even though I may already know the formulas that is related to the question. Should in case I need to go back here to highlight what formula you can find where and when and how, then of course I will do so for you. All right, so let's jump right into the video without, again, as I said, no further ado. Section 1, answer all questions in this section. All workings must be shown on the paper. All right, so some of you guys have a habit that I've seen over the years while I'm teaching, that some of you guys, for some miraculous reason, you may know the answer and you want to take the answer, the working out, home with you and write down the answer. It doesn't work like that. Everything must be shown clearly. All right, so let's get into the question, guys, and let's see how much we can learn from this, starting with question 1A, the usual fractions and decimals and that kind of stuff. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so what we have here is that we're using a calculator or otherwise to calculate the exact value of 4 1/3 minus 1 2/5 in brackets divided by 4/15. Clearly we're dealing with the order of operations here, so we know that we must work out the operation that appears in the brackets, or as I refer to it as parentheses. Okay, so we're going to work out what is in the bracket first, followed by what is on the outside. Now, even though we know that in the order of operations division comes before subtraction, because the subtraction operation is within the parentheses, then we work out what is in the parentheses first. So very basic fundamental knowledge for you, nothing wrong in re-highlighting that. So let's get into it. So we are going to convert these mixed fractions here to improper fractions. So that would be 3 times 4 is 12, 12 plus 1 is 13, 13 divided by 3. Then we should have minus here, 5 ones 5, and 5 plus 2 is 7 over 5. Now we can pretty much put that back in a nice bracket here, because we're just doing all the conversions first. All right, so let's just keep it the same. Okay, and then we're gonna have divided by 4/15. Okay, all right, so we're just gonna focus on this section of the problem right here. So we're just pretty much gonna work out this by finding the LCM here. Right, and we know that the answer that we get will be divided by 4/15. But let's just hold up for a minute. So the LCM here is going to be 50. So 3 goes into 15, or 15 divided by 3 is 5, and we multiply the 5 by the numerator. So that's 5 times 13, 65. And 5 goes into 15 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. Okay. All right, and then that the whole entire result there will be divided by 4/15. Now, if we subtract these two, we should get a total of 44 over 15, and then of course we're going to be dividing that again by 4 over 15. Now, the rules for division is simply that we keep the first fraction as it is. We change the division sign to a multiplication, and by changing the division sign to a multiplication, we are supposed to reciprocate, invert, turn upside down, whatever you want to use, the last fraction. We're gonna reciprocate that last fraction there. Then we're going to find factors that can cancel out the numbers, numerators with denominators. So clearly you can see here that let me just take this off here. So clearly you can see that 15 cancels 15, goes one time, and well, okay, so 4 goes into itself one time, 4 goes into 44, 11. So my answer here is going to be 11 over 1, which is going to be a whole number, which is 11, which is just 11, right? Now, you could have used 2 to cancel the 4, and then 2 goes into the 44 22 times, and then you can use 2 again. So if you can't cancel straight, meaning that you know the exact number, you can use a smaller factor to do your cancellation. But at the end of the day, you should reduce your fraction to the lowest term where possible. All right, so pretty good, guys. Hope we got that one. All right, as I said, guys, please feel free to work out the questions before I finish, and so that you can check my solution set with yours. Okay, feel free to do so. All right, so we are now going to look at the decimal form here, and that is going to be 3.1 minus 1.15 squared, and that's all squared, divided by 0.005. So again, this is the PEMDAS or the BOMDAS law. So we're going to work out what is in the bracket first. We could write it down and work it out by ourselves manually, but it will be so much easier based on the amount of marks awarded for this question. We could just simply go on our calculator and subtract those two numbers. So that's going to give us a total of here 1.95, and we're going to square that and then divide the result by 0.005. okay, so we take 1.95 and we're going to square the result. You guys should have your calculator and know how to square a number. 3.8025. I'm going to divide that now by 0.005. Right, and if we divide that number now by 0.005, we should get a total result here of 760.5. all right, so that was a pretty easy question. I believe that you guys had the hang of that. So we are 4 marks out of 100 so far. We're not doing too bad, are we? Yeah, we're doing pretty good. So 2 very simple questions to get our fingers and our brains warmed up, and that's the idea of getting a good start in math. So we're going to go on to the next page here, and this page here, of course, is titled Consumer Arithmetic section. Please forgive me for the zoom in and zoom out. So this section here is called the consumer arithmetic section. All right, so let's start reading at the top here. A lot of students often make the mistakes of just looking at the diagram or looking at the table, and they want to try to figure it out like that. It's always good to read what is at the top up here. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Now, a store is promoting a new mobile phone under two plans, Plan A and Plan B. The plans are advertised as shown in the table below. So I see clearly two plans, Plan A and Plan B, and there are some prices, but there are some, the prices are associated with some stuff here. So deposit, monthly installments, number of months to repay. That comes off to me a little bit like hire purchase. But this seems to be like a phone plan, or the plan of a phone being sold under the hire purchase condition. Yes, because usually we are accustomed to having hire purchase being talked about furniture or some sort of physical assets like a bicycle or maybe a washing machine or something of that sort. Usually this question is under that formation. However, in this case, we're looking at a phone plan being sold under a hire purchase condition. Now, if I look at the table clearly here, I can clearly see that for Plan A, right, and this is something that we have experienced as consumers in the real world, guys. We often go out where we see two different things that are being offered to us, whether it be a product or maybe it's something that we want to buy with a certain amount of price, maybe it has discount. We often as consumers have to make a choice, and sometimes the choices that we have to make must be totally dependent upon us and not what the sales clerk is advising us. So it's very good that you have these very basic consumer arithmetic skills, because these basic consumer arithmetic skills where you are able to calculate what is best for you is always better than what somebody else tells you. All right, so let's see here. Deposit for Plan A, $400. Deposit for Plan B, $600. Monthly installment, $65 for Plan A, $80 for Plan B. The number of months to repay, 12 months, 6 months. All right, I'm seeing some stuff and I see some tax here. So it looks as if to get Plan B is more costly than Plan A in terms of the deposit. Also, to get Plan A, you're going to pay a less money per month. So far I've gotten 2 ticks on this side. So by looking at this, I'm feeling that Plan A is going to be a better plan. But there's a shorter time period that you're allowed to pay for Plan B than Plan A. So I don't know, these two here, you know, at first I wanted to say Plan A would be a better price. All right, and then there's tax here. Tax, interesting. I'm still gonna go hypothetically speaking with Plan A, because on the numbers that I'm seeing. Now let's jump back into the real world, guys, and we're having a conversation here. We're not just working out the papers. What I just did a moment ago was that I hypothetically analyzed the question. I just looked at the numbers and I'm saying, okay, I feel like this is right and that is right. A lot of students do this. A lot of students just look at the paper, look at the numbers, and because they're unable to probably show the working out or justify their answer, they'll just probably say, hey, Plan A is better because so and so and so and so, or Plan A is this price so and so and so because of so and so and so. Everything in math, guys, require detailed working out. Whatever you say, there must be numerical evidence to back up whatever you say. All right, so that phase that you see I just went through just for a minute or so, don't do that. That's not good. You just want to read the question and make use of the numerical values that are there. All right, so let's get into what really is supposed to be done. We're to calculate the total cost of the phone or a phone under Plan A. Okay, so it's not just one phone, it's any phone basically. So you want to buy a phone with Plan A, here's what the cost, here's what's going to cost you. All right, so we know that the hire purchase principle, all right, is going to be that HP, I'm just going to call it HP just to make it easier for me to remember. It's going to be my deposit plus the installment multiplied by the time that it's going to take me to pay for the phone. So for plan A, the deposit is $400 plus the installment for plan A is $65. I don't seem to know how to write 65. Multiplied by the period of time that I'm allowed to pay for plan A is 12 months. Alright? So that's 65 multiplied by 12. We know that this is the order of operation, so we know we have to multiply simply before we add. So that's going to give me $780, and that's going to be plus to 400. And when we add those here, it's going to be $1,180. Alright? So that's the cost. Alright, so that was pretty good. Easy 2 marks. Even though there was a lot of talking, as I said, guys, when I'm working these questions out, it's not about working out the whole entire paper and just giving you the answer. We want to have a conversation. We want to build a connection with each other to say, hey, this is what is supposed to be done, this is what's not supposed to be done, this is your thought process on the question, this is not supposed to be your thought process on the question. We kind of want to go through all of that. All right, because any math teacher would be able to work out this paper with you and give you the answer. So the answer should not be your primary concern. It's the understanding and the critical and logical thinking behind the paper, where necessary, is what's supposed to be important to you. All right, let's get into the second part here. So determine which of the two plans, A or B, is a better deal. And this is something that as consumers we encounter every day. Should I buy this? Should I buy that? This price is cheaper. No, that quality is better. Or maybe this store or this place is too expensive. No, this place is cheaper. As consumers, we're faced with choices every day. But at the end of the day, to make the best choice is always to look at the prices. All right? And you've got to know these things as a consumer, right? Don't just look at the math for the math, but look at the fact that there is something to learn from this to apply yourself to in real life. So one of these days, you guys might be able to purchase a phone under 2 different plans, and you're going to want to figure out which is the better deal. So let's get into it. In order for us to do a comparison between plan A and plan B, we obviously know what the price for plan A is already, $1,180. So we're definitely going to need to work out the price for plan B. Now we already have the formula written up here, which is the hire purchase principle. So we know that the deposit for plan B is going to be, let's check the table here, $600, and the installment period, okay, so it's 6 months and it's $80. So that's $80 multiplied by 6. But remember here at this bottom right here, they mentioned that there's a 5% tax. So I know that all of that, let me just do one part at a time. All right, so that's 600 plus 6 times 80. That should give me 480. All right, and that's going to be equal to 1,080. All right, so it'll seem as if plan B is going to be a better price so far, but we haven't done the tax yet. So let's do the tax here. There's 2 ways to do the tax. You can find 5% of 100 and multiply it by the total, and however adding that result back to the total. Okay, a lot of persons know it this way, but I prefer to just add the percentage to the original price. So I would add 5% to 100, and I get 105% over 100 and multiply it by 1,080. Now, what's the difference between the two? One requires a little bit more working out, the other one gets me to my answer straight away. Just wanted to highlight that for you. All right, so for the persons who know that tax is calculated as finding the tax first, then adding the tax to the price, 5 divided by 100, that's going to give me, times 1,080, that's going to give me 54. So I'm going to add the 54 again to the 1,080, and that should give me a total of, just a second here, 1,080, and that should give me 1,134. and that would be my answer for plan B. Now if I go ahead now, and for the persons who know it this way, where you add the tax to the original total of 100%, then the 105 divided by 100, and that's going to be pretty much give me a total of 1134. All right, so one gets me to my answer directly. One, tells me what the tax is. Then I will have to add the tax to the original cost. All right, so there are going to be some questions that will say, what is the tax that was paid on the item? You may have to use this method, or some, like this question is just asking you for the price after tax and everything. You can use this method. So it varies, it depends on the student, and it depends on your knowledge that you know about the question. All right, now did we answer the question? It says determine which of the plan A or plan B is a better deal. Justify your answer. Looking at the prices, which is the best comparison, you can clearly see that the price of plan B is a lot cheaper than the price of plan A. Even with the tax, it is still a better deal, because better deal obviously is going to be, for personal reasons, I think that plan B is a better deal, not only because of the price, but simply because of the time period in which I will have to take to pay for it. It's a shorter time period, and also I'm not paying much of a difference between the monthly installment. It's just $15 more, so it's not much of a difference. So yeah, in terms of the price, plan B. But then again, even though it may be a little bit more expensive, different consumers may have different things that they have to do. So even though it's a better deal, a lot of persons may or may not take it. All right, so great. So good job on that question, guys. Nice for you to work with me there. So let's move on to the next page here, still on consumer arithmetic. So let's take a look at what this question is saying here. So John's monthly electricity bill is based on the number of kilowatt hour of electricity that he consumes for that month. Now he's charged a total of $5.10 per kilowatt hour of electricity consumed. Now for the month of March 2016, there were 2 meter readings, and they're displayed in the table below. Okay, so the table is saying that at the beginning of March, there was the meter reading was 03011, and at the end of March, the meter reading was 03307. All right, okay, so not a bad deal. We should be able to understand this. By looking at this question right away, I pick up that one of the most important concepts here is to make sure that we remember this here. This price is going to come in handy. And I recognize here that these zeros are also insignificant to the total, because here, provided that the meter reading goes over 10,000, then that's the time this number will change. But for now, it doesn't seem as if I need to include these zeros, because they're not going to affect my result. All right, so not bad, not much to analyze there. Okay, all right, so this pretty much is the meter reading starting the month of March, and at the end of March, after using electricity, it increased. So we know that some kilowatt hour of electricity was used in this month. All right, let's see here. Calculate the total amount that John pays for electricity consumption for the month of March. All right, so we need to know how much kilowatt hour of electricity that was used. All right, so we could say that number of kWh of electricity used equals, all right, we don't have to write out the whole entire sentence, but let's see here. So it's going to be 3307 minus 3011, because you have to subtract what you started with from what you ended with. All right, so when we subtract those two there, we should get, we can just go on our calculators and do that, guys. 3307, we don't have to try to work out everything manually, but if you want, you can. 296, so there's a total of 296 kilowatt hour of electricity used. Now remember that it said up here that he's charged $5.10 per kilowatt hour. So that's going to be 296 kilowatt energy used multiplied by what is charged per kilowatt, and then that should give us his total bill for that month. So 296 multiplied by 5.10, and that should give us a total bill of $1,509.60. Hope you guys are working with me. All right, as I said, guys, please feel free to pause the video and work the questions out with me before then you can take a look at how I go about the question. All right, and if you haven't liked the video as yet, please do so, because a lot of persons out there are going to need this working out this kind of guidance. Right now, upon making this video, it is actually the period of exam time. Usually most persons watch these kind of videos when it's exams time. So very good so far, guys. We're working good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a connection with you guys right now, because I feel like you guys are learning. Okay, all right, so now for the next month, April 2016, same year, nothing has changed. John paid $2,351.10 for his electricity bill. All right, interesting. Determine his meter reading at the end of April. Interesting. Determine the meter reading at the end of April. But do we know his meter reading at the end? Do we know his meter reading at the beginning of April? Interesting. All right, so they gave us his meter reading at the beginning of March. And based on my knowledge, and I'm sure that you guys can attest to this, maybe you don't know much about electricity bill, but what I can tell you is that wherever your meter reading is at the end of a particular month is what it's going to start with at the beginning of the new month. If you didn't know that, you know that now. Let me repeat that. Whatever your meter reading is at the end of a particular month is what the meter reading is going to be at the beginning of that particular month, because it's simply going to be a period of maybe an hour or so before you skip from one day, from when it's read to and put on the system to when the meter reading resumes. Yes? All right, so let's see here. So I'm assuming that, okay, so since the end of March was 3307, I'm going to assume that this was the meter reading at the beginning of April. All right, and that's a fair assumption. So let's write it down here. All right, beginning of April would have to be 3307. All right. And you can do this on your exam, guys. If it is that you're analyzing, you can make your analysis to the side, anywhere on the paper, right? Because these things count for reasoning ability, yeah? You don't have to do it the way how I do it. If you know what the answer is and you can get to it, I don't blame you. Get to the answer. But for me, I want to build a connection with you guys, working out the paper, showing you the thought process, okay? So beginning of April 3307. Let's see here. So the bill was obviously $2,351. We know he's paying $5.10 per kilowatt. So I'm thinking that, okay, so if I know my total bill for the entire month, and I know what they're charging me per kilowatt, then I can easily calculate the amount of energy that I used by dividing the two numbers. So I take 2,351 and 10 cents, and I'm going to divide it by the amount they charge me per kilowatt, and that should give me a total of 461, and that should be kilowatt hour. All right, that's the amount of energy of electricity that I used for that month. So now this is pretty easy now, because if this was the meter reading at the beginning of April and this was the amount of energy that I used for that period based on the calculation here, then I can simply say that my meter reading at the end of April would have to be 3307 plus 461. And then that should give me a total of 8 here. This is 6 here. This is, well, obviously, well, 4 from 33 is 29. Oh, I'm not subtracting, I'm adding. Okay, so 4 plus 3 is 7. Let's remove this here, because there's no way your meter reading can be less, so forgive me there. And this is 3. Let's check again. 7 and 1 is 8, 6 and 0 is 6, 3 and 4 is 7. Bring down the 3. So my meter reading at the end of the month, and be careful guys, you don't want to write down this as your answer, because remember that your meter reading did not pass 10,000, so you've got to add back that 0. You may lose a mark or so. So 0, 3, 7, 6, 8, because this is how it was presented to you in the table. So unless it passed 10,000, then you can you know, add a number here, but you can't leave that 0 off, because you know CXC might be a little bit strict. So you know, make sure that you put back that 0. All right guys, so that's pretty good so far. Pretty good. So let's get into the other questions here. All right, so we're at question 2. Took some time for us to go through actual question 1, but based on the fact that we are analyzing, thinking through the questions, it's not so much about how long we take to work out the questions, it's about how much knowledge we can gain from the questions to bring into other papers that we're going to be working. All right, so please look out for another video in this week. I'm going to be posting the 2019, well, I think I posted that on my channel already, so please ensure that you watch that video. But I will be posting another year, not sure which one as yet, but I will let you know. Yes? All right, so we're at the algebra section now. Pretty long paper, but let's get into it. This is what we call a YouTube marathon. So factorize the following expressions completely. 6y squared minus 18xy. Now this, there are 4 types of factorization techniques out there. All right, we have the factorization by the HCF method. We have the factorization by grouping method. We have the factorization by difference of 2 squares method. And we have the factorization of the quadratic expression. So let's see which one we're looking at here. So clearly we can see that there is a common factor between both terms. There's a common factor in the number, and there's a common factor in the variables. So the common factor in the number is 6, because 6 is the lowest, 6 is the highest number that can go into 6 and into 18, so we're going to take that out. And we also have a common factor in the letter, because there's a y over here and there's also a y over here, and since this y is the y with the lowest power, we're going to take that one out and we're going to open the bracket here. Now 6y goes into 6y squared, leaves us with just the y, because the 6 will cancel the 6 and one of the y will divide into the y square, leave us with y. Okay, hope you guys got that. 6 into 18 goes 3 times, and the y that is here cancels out the y that is here by division, leaving us with an x here. So hope you guys got that. All right, so that's very straightforward, I think. All right, this is the HCF method. Okay, all right, so hope you guys got that. Let's move on to question 2 here. Now 4m squared minus 1, you can clearly see that this is a different question from this one up here, simply because there is no common factors between the terms. All right, so what that usually indicates to me, right, whenever I see that, and when I say usually, it may or may not be the case, but there are 2 indicators that I see here. Number 1, there are no common factors between the terms. That's 1. And the fact that there's a minus sign there with that condition tells me that this question here is the difference of 2 squares. Okay, difference. Oh my god, I can't spell difference. Okay, here we go. Difference. Is that how it's spelled? Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Oh my god, so ironic. The maths teacher cannot do English. Okay, so difference of 2 squares. Okay, so what is the formation for a difference of 2 squares? How do we pick up that it's a difference of 2 squares? Now, the general form of a difference of 2 squares is that we have a square minus b square. Both terms should be raised to a power of 2, or both terms should be able to be expressed to a power of 2. Now at the moment here, you can clearly see that only one of the terms in one of the components in the question here is raised to a power of 2. However, both the number 4 and the number 1 can be expressed to a power of 2. So I can take this 4 here and I can change it to 2 squared, and I can write back my m squared, and then I can change the 1 to 1 squared, because 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, m squared is m squared. So even though I've written the question in a different form, let me just write that a little bit better for you. Alright, so we have 2 squared m squared minus 1 squared. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now that I have everybody raised to a power of 2, how do we factorize a difference of 2 squares? So usually what we do is that we open 2 pairs of brackets. Alright, and since both terms are raised to a power of 2, we just take one of the term, put it here, one of the term, put it here. We put a plus in one of the bracket and we put a minus in the other bracket, or we could put a minus over here and a plus over there, no difference. And we put the b here and we put the b here. All right, and that is the difference of 2 squared. That's how you factorize it. It's as straightforward as that. So with this principle here, what we can do is just open 2 brackets here. And we're going to put a plus in one first. I'm going to put a minus in the other. If we put a minus over here, a plus over here, no, the cancellation will be the same. So we have 2 squared. We're going to put a 2 over here and a 2 over here. All right. Let's just move this plus a little bit close. We're going to put an m here and an m here. All right. And we're going to put a plus here, as I said before, and a minus here. We're going to put a we're going to put a 1 here and a 1 there. All right, good. So 2m plus 1, 2m minus 1. That's it. Very straightforward, I think. All right guys, so hope you guys got that. So now we're dealing with the factorization of the quadratic expression. What's the key in recognizing that it's a quadratic expression? I'm going to zoom up the clue here. Well, that's as far as I can zoom. All right, so the clue here is the square at the front. The square at the front is the clue to knowing that this is a quadratic expression. All right, so how do we go about this? We are going to be using what is known as the AC method. All right, the AC method here is going to be very, very key to our solution. Just a moment here, guys. The AC method is going to be very key. Just a second here, guys. All right, so the key in this question here is the AC method, as I mentioned before, and the AC method is where we pretty much just a second here, guys. Just want to make sure that this is bright enough for all of you. All right, so here we go. So the AC method, guys, we're going to just multiply the... All right, so with the AC method, we know that a quadratic expression has the general form ax squared plus bx plus c. That's the general formation of a quadratic expression. All right. So with a quadratic expression now, we're just going to multiply the term a, that's been represented by a, by c. So a is what is in front of the x squared, so that's going to be 2 multiplied by c, which is the n number here, the constant, by minus 2. So 2 multiplied by minus 2, that's going to give us minus 4. All right, now we're gonna have to break this number up into 2 factors. Okay, so break them up into pairs of factors. So I think that maybe 1 times 4 could work. All right, and we could use 2 multiplied by 2. So we need to pair a factor that could give us back a 3. Clearly, nothing about 2 times 2 could give us minus 3, because if you add 2 to 2, you're going to get 4, and if you subtract them, you're going to get 0. So that couldn't work. So right away, it's going to be 1 and 4. All right, but I need to make sure that at the same time, when I add both of them, I'm going to get minus 3, but if I am to multiply the result, I'm still going to get minus 4. So I'm thinking maybe I could make the 4 negative. Yes, because 1 multiplied by minus 4 is going to give me minus 4, check. 1 plus minus 4 or 1 minus 4 is going to give me minus 3, check. So I'm good to go. All right, associating your signs properly or distributing your signs properly is very important to knowing what, because if you had put the minus where the 1 is, then you might have had a problem with the factoring later down. Okay, all right, so please check out my quadratic equation or quadratic expression videos on my channel in my playlist, and you can see more explanation on this, guys. Okay, all right, so here we go. So we have 2t squared minus 4t. Okay, we're going to attach a t to this, so minus 4t minus, a lot of person will write 1t, but I'm not going to do that. It's going to write minus t, because 1 is an understood coefficient in front of the t here, and then we're going to have minus 2. All right, minus 2 here, because this is going to be a plus t, I'm sorry, forgive me. So minus 4 plus t, so that's going to give me minus 3t. So the expression is still the same, I've just expanded it a bit. All right, I'm gonna put them into, well, I don't like doing that, put them into brackets. I just like to draw a line under the first two and draw a line under the second two. That's how I like to do it. Some teachers will put them into brackets, but I don't think that is mathematically correct. All right, let's not get into that. So I like to draw a line. So I'm gonna factor the first numbers under the first line. So common factor here is going to be 2 and t here, and open the bracket here. All right, so 2t goes into 2t squared. It's like what I said earlier about this question, 6y into 6y squared leaves me with a y. So similar thing happening here, 2t into 2t squared goes t times, and 2 goes into 4 twice, and the t divides into the t, cancels or goes 1 time. So we'll put that in a bracket here. Now the only factor that can go into 1t or t and 2 is going to be 1. All right, that's the only number that can go into a variable and a constant. All right, well, a variable with no obvious coefficient, the only understood factor is going to be 1. And so 1 divides into anything gives you the same result. So you can see clearly that what is in this bracket is in that bracket too. So we have our final answer to be 2t minus 2. And in another bracket we have 2t plus 1. Now a lot of students will ask me when I'm teaching this on the board, sir, can I write the 2t plus 1 first and the 2t minus 1 after, or the t minus 2 after? No problem. The order in which you multiply does not change your result. Fundamental law of math, the commutative law. All right, so however you put it, it does not matter. All right, now we're just going to be working this final question here on question 2, which is to write as a single fraction here and simplify. Now at this point, guys, it will be really good now after this question that you can take a break, have a sip of water, you can have a snack, right? Because this is going to be a very long video. As you can see, there's a lot more difficult questions coming, so you can take a break right now, walk around a little bit, don't saturate yourself too much, and then you can return. All right, so yeah, so write as a single fraction and simplify. We're going to just pretty much, so it's a fraction, so we're just going to be finding our LCM here. All right, so our LCM here is going to be 12. All right, so 3 goes into 12 4 times. I'm going to write down that 4 here, open a bracket, and multiply the expression by 4. The expression at the top by 4. I'm going to write our minus sign here, right? And 4 goes into 12 3 times, and 3 multiplies the expression at the top, which is 3p minus 1. Okay, now we're going to be distributing the number 4 and the number 3 through the brackets here. So 4 multiplied by 5p, that looks to give me 20p, and 4 multiplied by 2, so we just swing up a few brackets here, a few arrows, I'm sorry. 4 multiplied by 2, that's going to give me a positive 8. and then we're going to swing a bracket here, swing up arrow here. Why am I confusing brackets with arrows? Oh my gosh. All right, so we're going to take here minus 3 times 3p, that's minus 9p, and minus 3 times minus 1. Remember, watch your signs. Minus times minus is a plus, and 3 times 1 is 3. All right, and this is all over 12. Okay, now to wrap this up, we can group like terms. All right, so we're gonna have 20p minus 9p plus 8 plus 3, all divided by 12. All divided by 12. All right, and then we just subtract like terms. So 20p minus 9p, that's going to give me 11p. 8 plus 3, that's going to give me 11. And I'm going to divide all of that by 12. All right, and that's our final answer there. All right, and that brings us to the end of question 2. All right, so do not watch the time of how it took to get to the answers here. It's all about the knowledge. What have you learned from working this paper so far? If I wanted to, I could have gone through this question by myself, running through within 5 to 10 minutes, but that's not the point. The point is to ensure that you learn from each question, because you're going to see these questions again on another past paper, maybe of a longer year or a more recent paper. No problem. All right, so make sure that we all learn. I'm just going to take a little break here, and then we are going to return to the remaining questions. All right, so in a moment, guys. Alright guys, so we are back and we're going to go to, okay, so that was not the end of question 2, that was actually part B. So we're at part C now, and we're given this formula here. A formula is given as D is equal to the root of 4h divided by 5, and we are to determine the value of D when h is 29, and you're to give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. All right, so this is just a very basic form of substitution. Please take out your calculators right now because you're going to be needing it. Okay, all right, so we have D is equal to the square root of 4h, but h we're told is 29, so it's 4 times 29 divided by 5. Okay, so let's just extend our root sign a little bit here. Okay, all right, so we're gonna looking to stress yourself out about guys. So that's 4 times 29. That's gonna give us a square root of 116 divided by 5. If we divide that result by 5, we should get the square root. So square root of 23.2. And please remember that they ask us to give our answer correct to 3 significant figures. So the square root of that 23.2, that's going to give us the result here of 4.81663 and so on. Okay, but we only want 3 significant figures. So our first significant figure is 4, our second significant figure is 8, and our third significant figure is 1. So we draw a line here. The number that comes after is a 6, which is greater than 5. So adding 1 to this 1 here gives us our final solution here. So our answer finally is going to be 4.82. all right, very basic principles of significant figures and rounding up and rounding down and that kind of stuff. All right, please check out my approximation video. It is on my channel. Just scroll up in the playlist and you will see significant figures video that can guide you into what I've done right here. Okay, alright, so the next part here says that we are to make h the subject of the formula. Alright, so the formula that was given to us was that d is equal to the square root of 4h over 5. The first thing we need to do when we are doing transposition or we are rearranging formulas is that we need to get rid of the root sign. Right, and to get rid of a square root sign, we obviously have to square both sides of the equation to keep the equation balanced. So I'm going to be squaring the d, and I'm also going to be squaring the square root of 4h over 5. So what that tells me now is that the square root will be cancelled by the square, and so I'm going to be left with d squared is equal to 4h over 5. My next step after doing that there is to rid myself of the 5, the denominator of 5. So I will have to multiply both sides of the equation by 5. So I'm going to have 5 multiplied by d squared, and that's going to be equal to 4h over 5 multiplied by 5. So that tells me now that this 5 here will cancel this 5, so I'm now left with 5d squared is equal to 4h. Okay, and I'm doing it step by step, guys, because each of these lines, like this line here, I wouldn't have done it if I was the one doing it, and I wouldn't have to write this line here, because I would have already known by practicing what the result is going to be whenever I square root, or I square, or I multiply both sides by. But this is just me showing you exactly what is happening. Okay, and then finally I just need to rid myself of the 4 that is attached to the h, because I need h as my subject. So I'm going to have 5d squared divided by 4 is equal to 4h divided by 4, and so this 4 here, so my final answer leaves me with the fact that h must be equal to then 5d squared divided by 4, and this is my final solution here. Okay, so not a bad question. Hopefully you guys got that. All right, feel free to pull up back the video, just rewind a little bit, and to see the process. All right, and try to work it out by yourself. All right, so pretty good. We're at question 3. All right, guys, sets is no longer on the syllabus, but I'm still going to be working it regardless. Yes, because of course we don't know who may need some little knowledge. We don't know who is watching the video and may need some knowledge on sets. So regardless of the fact that it's no longer on the syllabus, we're still going to be working it out anyways. Okay, so what we have here is that the universal set U is defined as follows. All right, and I'm going to try to read this for you so you will learn how to read it. All right, so it says here that U is equal to the set of x such that x is a member of the natural numbers where x is greater than 2 but less than 12. Let's read that again. That's a mouthful. All right, in math the colon means such that. I wonder if I should just write it here. Colon means such that. A comma in math means so a comma in math means where. Alright, this symbol here means is a member of. About the greater than and the less than sign, and pretty much that's it. Alright, so those are the symbols, mathematical symbols, and what they mean. Alright, so this is saying here once again that U, the set that you're talking about, is a set of, oh, I didn't write this one. This means a set of, or the set of. Okay, so U is equal to the set of x such that x is a member of the natural numbers. Alright, so n is the symbol that we use to represent natural numbers. And natural numbers are numbers that we pretty much start counting from 1 all the way through to infinity. So every number that pretty much exists numerically is a natural number, except for decimals, obviously. So what you're saying that is that the set x has members that are greater than 2, so 2 is not included, but it's less than 12. So I'm thinking that maybe the set U is equal to the set of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's not inclusive of 12, because obviously they're less than 12. Alright, M and R are subsets of U, so there are members in U that will make up M, and there are members in U that will make up R. But here's what they said about M. M is the set of odd numbers and R is the set of square numbers. So we need to look at set U that we have gotten up here, because we got U based on the fact that this domain here tells us what the U is. So M is all the odd numbers from this set. So M is equal to the set of odd numbers. I know that 3 is an odd number, 5 is an odd number, 7 is an odd number, 9 is an odd number, and 11 is an odd number. Very good. So that's set M. And they also said that you have to list the members of subset R. So R is equal to the set of square numbers. So square numbers are numbers that have a factor that when squared will give you the result of the number. Earlier we recognized that 4 can be 4 is equal to 2 squared, 9 is equal to 3 squared, and that's it. There's no more square numbers from that set. Alright, so that's 1 mark each. That's not bad. Alright, you are to draw a Venn diagram that represents the relationship among the defined subsets U. So we know that a Venn diagram has a rectangle here. Let's draw this rectangle better. Subsets are going to be circles inside, but we need to find out is this subset, are the sets disjoint, are they subsets of each other like a circle within a circle, or are they intersecting? So we have to pay attention to see, are there any common members between M and R? And there is. 9 is a common member, so that tells me right away that my circles are going to cross over like that. So I know that 9 will also be in the middle. It's going to be set M, this is going to be set R. The only members of R, the only member of R that's not there is 4, so we could put 4 here. And the remaining members of M is going to go here, so M is going to be 3, 5, 7, and 11. So 3, 5, 7, and 11. So now all the members of set M and set R are represented. But a lot of students will lose, maybe, let me see, how much marks is it worth? 4. A lot of students will only get 3 here because they forget that set U exists. So remember that members such as, let me see here, 3, 4, alright, so let's see, 3, 4, 5, we have number 6, 7 is number 8, 9 number 10, 11, that's it. So the 6, 8, 10 here needs to be included in the outside of the 2 circles. So if you don't put that 6, 8, 10, CXC or CSEC might remove 1 mark for that. Alright, and these little 1 marks that you lose along the way, easily find yourself losing 20 marks in accumulation by the time you finish the paper. So don't take these 1 mark for granted. Make sure that you do everything. Okay. All right. So that's question 3A. Now construction. Now I do not have the device or the instruments from what I'm using here to do the proper construction. All right. But I can demonstrate to you what needs to be done. All right. So that's all that I can do for you on this paper. So using a ruler, a pencil, and a pair of compass, we are to construct accurately the square ABCD with sides 6 centimeter. It's not a bad question. This is pretty doable question. All right, now we know that a square has, let's just make a sketch of our square here. We know that a square has 4 90 degrees in the corner. All right, so if I can get the base and 2 90-degree angles, it's going to not be that difficult. All right, so the first thing I want to do is to make sure that I have a ruler. I'm going to place the ruler right here on my surface, on my paper, and I'm going to use my ruler and draw 6 centimeter line like that. All right, I'm going to label my side. I could just label it ABC if I want. I could just label this A and label this B. So what I need now is just a 90 degree and a 90 degree here. So I need to have a knowledge of how to do a 90 degree angle. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to place a picture of I'm going to place a picture right here. You should be able to see it now, right? Good. And that's what you call your compass. That's the one that you take the pencil and you put it in. All right. So you're going to take your compass. All right. Right. That's correct. I need to make sure that I have it right. Protractor is the half a circle. Compass is the one with the pencil. Divider is the one with the 2 points. All right. So you're going to take your compass and you're going to take the pointed section and you're going to put it right here. And you're just going to open up the compass to a convenient radius. All right, so you're going to place the compass point right here and the pencil is going to be sticking off and you're going to just scribe an arc like that. Just scribe an arc, just come around like that. Okay. All right, now once you've done that, you're not going to change the radius. You're just going to hold it at the tip. Right, do not touch the pencil or the point. Just keep the radius the same and you are pretty much going to extend. Okay, well, there are 2 techniques for doing the 90 degree. I'm just going to give you the simple one. You're just going to extend the compass at this point right now. Just extend it a little bit. All right. And what you're going to do is that you're going to place the compass point right here. Place the compass point right here. And with that extension, you're going to scribe an arc somewhere up here. And then you're going to go over to the end here and with this line, so you can make a broken line if you want to, just to make sure sync. So you can make a little broken line here. Alright, and place your compass point here and scribe with the same extended radius, scribe another arc. And what's going to happen is that when you scribe that arc, the intersection of the arcs will be directly over this point. So you use your ruler and you draw a line